apologize for not coming on here last couple days. But yesterday I was helping a friend out. The day before that, I ended up having to go to Omaha. I just want to point out that the shit that they're doing to me is the same stuff that they did to Issac Kappy, which is the same thing they did to Tracy Twyman, which is the same thing they did to Lori King, same thing they did with Max Spears. Those are just the people I mentioned. There's a whole long list. If you go click in the description, the first link, I ended up deciding to just post every single voicemail they've left me. Just post them all, you know? And so I just want to point out that does in no way, hey Susan, that in no way denotes all of the phone calls that they didn't leave messages. It certainly doesn't include all of the text messages, because it's, for a while there, it was nonstop, all day, every day. And it's meant to scare a person or drive them into just despair, I guess. I don't know. It's like a shock and awe program. But you can go listen to the emails. And now they're trying to say that Issac Kappy is in witness protection because none of his shit for him being dead makes any sense. So now the story is going to yet shift again. I just had to answer an email from Johnny Dubb, who, again, I believe is Lucian Greaves. But these emails, it's being run by a group. So it's not like there can't be more than one person connected to these emails. But I know that Doug Mesner just didn't go away. And I believe that Doug Mesner is Lucian Greaves. And so now Thomas Schoenberger and Johnny Dubb are pretending to be oppositional to each other now. Now it's controlled opposition. And Thomas is back to, oh, Corey Daniel and Tara Joyce is paying David. I just got paid since I went to Omaha because I wasn't going to have any money. I had to go buy animal food. Now I think I have $25 for the month. No one is fucking paying me. But with Thomas Schoenberger, it's either Corey Daniel and Tara Joyce are paying me, or the Lincoln Project is paying me, or Benjamin Netanyahu is paying me, or he just comes up with anything and just throws shit at the wall. When it comes down to it, I don't give a shit if Thomas Schoenberger wants to act like he's oppositional to Corey Daniel. I believe Thomas Schoenberger and Craig Sawyer murdered Isaac at that military base, and it was Corey Daniel and Daniel Doud who took his dead-ass corpse and put it on that bridge. That's what I believe. They all work in conjunction with each other. They're not controlled. They're not oppositional at all. Johnny Dubb and Thomas Schoenberger, okay, so they're oppositional, but when I post it to my blog, you'll see what Johnny Dubb sent me was he forwarded me an email that Thomas Schoenberger wrote him. So they're oppositional, they're fighting, and yet, you know, and it's not like Thomas Schoenberger and this Johnny Dubb idiot and that supposed Australian dude, that Chris Mackenzie Jones or whatever his name is, didn't tag team me all day, every day for about a year. And it only stopped, what, maybe 3 or 4 months ago? It was nonstop. Again, they're trying to protect their criminal enterprise. It's not just child trafficking. It's all kinds of shit. It's all kinds of shit. Geo Farnsworth can post all the fucking pictures he wants of his son and taking his son out to go trick-or-treating and being in a restaurant. Dude, there's a bunch of it's not like being a father makes you infallible or makes you any less of a criminal. Again, you and Daniel Doud. I would have never targeted you for killing Owen had you both not bragged about it. You bragged about it. And you're a fucking criminal. Come on, Gio. Are you serious? You have a fucking rap sheet. You know? Try to... You guys all want to you want to vilify me and make yourselves out to either be martyrs or saviors. I'm neither a martyr nor a savior. Even if you martyr me out, even if you take me out, I serve heaven and always have. You know, I serve heaven. And so, but all of the shit that, if you go and read the arguments about the Satanic Temple and what they're saying, all of the orgies and the S&M and all of the weird sexual shit of all of that, and then throw kids in there, because that's what it is. Then you throw kids in that too. That's why I'm at this, trying to stop it. But the shit they're doing to me isn't new. They do it to everyone they target. I've been at this for a long time. I've watched how it was done. I expected it. When I was told in a shamanic journey to open up comments and start talking about Issac Kappy, I knew what the fuck I was in for. Are you kidding me? Let alone I grew up with this group. I've watched this group with others. I've watched them target individuals and silence them and shut them up. I've watched it over and over and over because I've been so enmeshed with this. I'm disabled and a victim of this. What's Thomas Schoenberger's excuse? This dude lives every day, all day. It is his job. It is his job. There's no other explanation as to how involved that dude is. Michael Aquino, Gabe Hoffman, Thomas Schoenberger, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, Doug Masico, a.k.a. Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, a.k.a. however many fucking names he gives himself, along with his free-range humans idiot, Kara, or that's the name she gave us when she came to secretly record everything in our house for 4 days, also known as Skills, also known as Emily Thorne. Now she's running around actually calling herself Siren. Then you have all of Sewertown, you know? Jesse Davis, Corey Daniel, his wife, the Sicilian witch, Alicia Ray, Chavez, Manuel Chavez, which is Defango, you know? Corey Daniel is Phoenix Enigma. Geo Farnsworth, Daniel Doud, Tara Joyce, Craig Sawyer's in there, Ron Patton's in there. But it's not a huge-ass group. The group that, if people focused on this group, they would get everything. Because this is the core group. This is the core group. They'll figure everything out from there. And they can write me emails insulting my teeth and my eyelids and my hair and my age and my weight. They can call me an anti-sodomite, whatever the fuck that is. I was never a Satanist. My dad wasn't a Satanist. He was a fucking Luciferian. They believed in the Antichrist. They weren't Satanist. They were Luciferians. What was going on? Michael Aquino is a Luciferian. He wasn't a Satanist. He was a Luciferian. That's the whole reason why he and Aleister Crowley broke up. Was it Alex? It wasn't Aleister Crowley. Who can keep up with all these fucking names? It was the dude who did the satanic thing. Anton LaVey. Anton LaVey and Michael Aquino worked together. They were together as Satanists. What broke them up, why Aquino went in a different direction, what separated them is because LaVey was just a social experiment. It was just a social thing. But fucking Aquino was a Luciferian, believed in the Antichrist, believed in the war with heaven, believed in he was going to be powerful at the end and live forever. They were Luciferian. My dad and the group that he was involved with were Luciferians. not Satanists. I've also never been a Jew. I've never been in a synagogue. That's what they see. Oh, I've been a Satanist and I've been a Jew and I've been a Christian. I am a Christian. Then they say, oh, then he's also been a Mormon. Mormons are a derivative of Christianity, a fringe derivative of Christianity, but they believe in Jesus Christ nonetheless. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. His name is actually in the title, you know? You know, Divine, I would love people to start. If people send me stuff, davidshurter.com, I'll post it all. Because they're scrubbing all of Isaac's stuff. Everything is disappearing, and the only thing that's there is the stuff they want out there. And the only stuff that I've been able to find is stuff when he was upset. So they try to make him look crazy. When he was trying to bust his child trafficking ring open, you know? But it goes way beyond a child trafficking ring. It's a human trafficking ring that involves child trafficking, but there's so much more to it. It's a huge criminal enterprise, and it needs to be investigated and stopped, you know? When I got baptized Mormon, the only reason I got baptized Mormon is because I wanted to be baptized underwater. And the Mormons were in my life. And I figured, okay, well, it's just providence, you know? I believe that, Susan. Everything is about ready to shift in a good way. People are actually starting to stand up and get involved and fight against the evil. That's what I'm watching, you know? And Divine, I know. You guys are trying. There are so many people out there trying, and you just have to understand. Sometimes I get to be, I can be a bitch. I get frustrated with all of this. Not to mention, I'm being attacked every day, all day. You know? When I said that the Mexican munchkin that came in and stole my glasses just happened, and I know it was him because then he showed up at Hy-Vee right after, you know, doing his weird ass thing. I knew something was up. I just didn't realize he stole my glasses. And people are just like, oh, well, did he need your glasses? No, they just do it so that I know so they know I know they can get in anytime they want. It's an intimidation factor. That's what it is. It's intimidation. Did they want my glasses? No, they probably fucking threw them in the garbage. They just wanted to. It's the same reason why if I don't water my plants, because in the summertime, I don't water my plants a lot of times. So my plants, none of my plants, they were all starting to die. And I had another one that was dying. It was a succulent. All the other plants are bone dry, but this succulent is waterlogged. So who's watering the succulent? My dogs? Are they watering the succulent for some reason? It's only meant so that I know they've been in my house, and it's an intimidation factor. That's what it is. The videos of them burning my house down is an intimidation factor. Of me being lynched is an intimidation factor. It's shock and awe meant to make the target afraid. I'm just not afraid. And why am I not afraid? Because heaven's behind me and around me and inside of me and everywhere I go. I don't need to be afraid of them. You know, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I don't have any control, and I'm not psychic. I can't see what. Usually God plays things out in a way that I'm always shocked and surprised by it. Usually pleasantly, but I never guess it right. But when I get frustrated, I just want you guys to know, sometimes I just get frustrated because I feel like I'm in this all alone. So don't take what I say personally. You know, none of you should take what I say personally. I don't know your lives. You know, why would you take anything I say personally? I don't know who you are. I don't know who you interact with. I don't know, you know. So what I say, just, you know, realize sometimes I'm just venting. I'm just venting because I'm stressed And I am stressed. Last night I didn't get, these taxes are driving me crazy and I don't know how the fuck I'm going to eat this month. It's just, me along with the rest of the world. But I went to Omaha the day before yesterday because what money I had to buy animal food. I can't have my animals there's no way they're going to go hungry. But the last week of last month, I ate popcorn, I get frustrated. And then I watch things like Virginia Giuffre. And no, I didn't know who Virginia Giuffre is. But her plight was a lot like mine. And she was just another casualty to this mess. And I don't believe she committed suicide. I don't. Her book was going to come out a month later. Do you realize she would have been all over the news? When her book came out, had she been alive, she would have been all over. Everyone would be interviewing her. I'm just, because they want their targets to think that they're all in control and there is no hope. That's what their shit is meant to do. And to a lot of people, it does just that. Me, I have faith, I have faith, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. And I know I'm not alone, I have not seen Arizona Wilder. I haven't even heard of her. It's funny, because when you look back in the 80s, what they called false memory and satanic panic, the allegations of ritual sexual abuse against children came out in the US, in the UK, and Australia, all at the same time. And there was no internet. There was no internet. At the time, it wasn't being reported on the media. But all kinds of people were coming forward and making the same allegations. And then they came out, the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, which was a whole group of parents, rich white parents, whose kids accused them of being involved in this cult. The only one that wasn't a parent in the False Memory Foundation thing was Ralph Underwager. And Ralph Underwager went on to a UK magazine called Patica and extolled the virtues of how great it is for kids to have sex with adults and how all kids should have sex with adults. I shit you not. You can go to my blog. You can read the interview. And Ralph Underwager was the only unmarried person. But they were all a group. And they all came out and said false memory and satanic panic. But how did the same allegations come out in the US, the UK, and Australia? Was there something in the wind? It's just nobody wanted to accept what was being said. And it's the same shit that's being said. That Mar-a-Lago Halloween party that they showed videos of. How would that be any different than any party you would assume you would see on Jeffrey Epstein's island? How is it any different? To watch the videos of that party at Halloween at Mar-a-Lago as a survivor was fucking triggering. And I don't get triggered easy, And I'm saying it's all of them. What we're dealing with are the rich motherfuckers who think they can do whatever they want, and the rest of us who they consider cattle. And that's the issue that we're facing. And people are tired of it, Oh, Freud. Oh, you mean the one who wanted to, fuck his sister? Freud was a freak. And now that's what Owen used to tell me. Nobody is Freudian anymore. The dude has been so discredited. Ellen Lachter, Ellen Lachter was this therapist that worked for the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. Her shit that she did wasn't even ethical. And false memories are bullshit. When have any of you ever had false memories? When have any of you had false memories? Have you ever had a memory that was false? You know? Thank you. About my hair. I got really irritated about a week and a half ago. I woke up in the morning and I had hair in my mouth and and then I went to go wash my hair and it was a tangled mess at the very bottom. So I ended up taking scissors and cutting a whole chunk off on one side. I put all my hair, I wasn't even thinking. So then when my hair dried, this side was short and this side was longer. So I had to cut that. And so I ended up, hey, Cov, I ended up going to Walmart the day before yesterday when I went to Omaha. I was in Walmart and I went into the hair salon to ask them how much a haircut would be. And it was $26. And I thought, okay, well, I don't care. And there were three women there and two of them were older than me. I mean, probably in their 70s, I would think, I'm guessing. And then there was another one that was probably my age. And they asked me what I wanted to do. And the Podesta brothers, all involved with Madeleine McCann, which is what started out the whole Podesta files. Because the Podesta files, if everybody remembers right, was what spurred all of this. Then it went to that spirit cooking shit with Hillary Clinton. Then it went to Pizzagate. You know? But I go in there and I ask them how much a haircut is. And I said, okay. And so they asked me, well, what do you want to do to your hair? And I said, shave it. Just shave my head. I'm sick of my hair. And these three women threw a fit. We're like, no, don't cut your hair. Don't do it. Don't do it. So the woman, she was the oldest of the two, all three of them. She's the one who put me in the chair. And what she did was she cleaned up and then she cut my temples so that my hair doesn't stick out anymore and my whole neck is shaved. It looks better. Shoulder length is a lot easier to deal with than halfway down my back. Thank you. You know, divine, this whole thing is that it's a spider web. They used to, in the 80s, they called it an octopus. It's not an octopus. It's a spider web, and it's designed to where you go down one track. So you go down what you will call a rabbit hole. I call it a strand of the spider web. And what ends up happening, how it's designed, is that you get stuck on that strand. You know? They're blasting the shit out of me. My hair is falling out, and yet here I am still. You know? God wants me here for some reason. Because since Halloween night, oh my God, the shit that they have been doing to me, and I've lost sleep over it. They are causing, but it's all right, you know. But so you get caught in one strand, and then if you make a big enough mess, their spider comes and takes you out. The rabbit holes have rabbit holes. And they're all trying to lead you down. Tara Joyce, the only truth that Tara Joyce has ever said is not my rabbit hole. She'll lead you down every rabbit hole but hers, about theirs. She's telling the truth with her name, you know? I'm glad Halloween is over. Oh my God, this was an awful Halloween. It was, wow, you guys are like all here today. I'm loving it. I helped a friend yesterday. Someone helped me and then I helped a friend because people in town who are my friends know I'm having a hard time feeding myself, let alone paying bills. And so I had someone send me a picture of a pantry that had just gotten set up. And so I went there and got a loaf of bread and some macaroni and cheese and stuff. And then I called a friend of mine who just lost her job. She and her husband are having problems feeding. I went and got her and brought her to the food bank to help her get food, you know. And then I took her over to West Central. I have a pantry order coming on Friday, but the pantry doesn't give you much, and you can only go once a month. So what they give me usually lasts, I don't know, a week or less. But I'm just one person, and there's a lot of people in need. And so it's just, not to mention my taxes. I got the bill. I'm going to have to come up by the, I'm just working on artwork. I'm just working on artwork. I tell you what, I'll show you guys what I'm getting ready to do. Because the artwork is the only hope. So this is what I'm making right there. This is one part. That's one part. And then it's called reverse applique. So this is that all traced out, and then I cut it. And then each one of these pieces I cut and peel back, and then I sew fabric in there. So as I get it done, I'll show you guys what I'm doing. Because it's the artwork is the only thing that's going to save me, I think. And then if I can get this done in soon, then I also have these two. And I have these all traced out. But I'm going to make a nativity thing. You know. So, oh, we should pray. Those phone calls are wild. Yes, they are, Gov. To be quite honest, I've never listened to any of them. I've never listened to any of them. The first few seconds. Each one I had to listen to the first few seconds because I had to know who it was. But I finally just posted all of them. Let people listen to what I have to go through. You know? That's just... But I should pray. Let's pray quick. I think it might change the whole... Raises us to a higher elevation of energy. Fill us with grace. Heaven, we come to you as your children. Halloween is over. Thank God. We pray for the souls that were probably lost that night, and we ask for justice. I ask for justice for all victims. It's the suffering. There's nothing like it, and it's hard not to feel alone. And I have these YouTube things, and friends, so I probably have it better than most victims. And especially, we're going in, these holidays are the worst. It starts with Halloween, and as you know, it gets worse. Christmas is awful. And then it just crescendos in Easter. So this is just a terrible time for victims. Fill our hearts with grace and alleviate our fears. Let us be a hope to others. Bring joy into other people's lives. Help us make the aspiration in our lives to be an inspiration to others. To let you flow through us as us.
Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. Isaiah 61.
Sorry, I didn't want to pray through my clock. So, you sent your son, Jesus Christ, down. He fulfilled the word and gave us the path. And for that, we are eternally grateful. Fill our hearts with love and compassion, and let us inspire and help those all around us that we can, and feel elevated with your grace as a result, although all glory goes to you. And amen to that. But we say these things in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. My clock interrupts that bit because this is also my studio. I like to hear that when I'm sewing. It's just every hour on the hour it's another Bible verse. And I find scripture to just be helpful when I'm feeling really hard about life. Scripture helps. Robert Earl Jones reading the Gospels of Jesus Christ is my favorite. You know, it was kind of uncanny. Not planned.
Oh, you is so sweet. You is spoiled. You is spoiled.
So, no, but I just wanted to point out the same thing that they're doing to me, they did to Isaac. They did to Tracy Twyman. They've done it just, I'm not an anomaly, and I'm certainly not special. They're just doing to me what they always do to everyone. The difference is that God doesn't allow me to fall down and stay down. You know, it's heaven always seems to lift me up and get me to keep fighting. I might get knocked down for a day or two, but then I had a great therapist, have a great therapist. But I'm just talking, when I say past tense, I've been in therapy for 30 years. And so I'm a big fan. I used to do interviews, Divine. I don't do them so much anymore. They got to be, I went on the whole circuit with Fiona Barnett. And then Issac Kappy and Fiona Barnett and I were all doing it. And I can't tell you how many times you don't know who to trust. And when it comes down to it, you find that you can't trust hardly anybody. And right before we did an interview, I was with Fiona. Right before we went on to do an interview, the dude who was interviewing us actually said, David, I'm surprised they just haven't shown up and shot you in the head. And he said that right before we even went on. And that's the kind of weird shit. Then we went on another one, and this guy interviewed us, and he ate the whole time. And didn't know how to, I just can't stand to watch people masticate their food. And so, Arizona. Please watch Arizona. David at davidshurter.com. You can just send me an anonymous, you just set up an email that, if you don't want to give me your actual email, but if you would send that to me. That's the other thing too. People were telling Sherilyn stuff. She never told me anything. She pisses me off. You know? Arizona Wilder. Gov, you're on here. I just don't have a pen to write it down. Will you just write it down for me, please, so I don't forget that name? Arizona Wilder. I did go out yesterday to the library, and they're going to find Eye of the Chicken Hawk for me. I don't even know what I'm getting ready to read. There's not a copy of it in Iowa, but they will be able to find one somewhere in the nation. Arizona Wilder. Will you just remind me of that name? Because I'm exhausted today and I'll forget it. And I do want to look. I think that things are starting to change. And I think people are starting to stand up. And the good people are actually starting to come together. And so I have to believe in that. I do. And so you can't mistrust everybody. They want you to think that everybody is them and they have complete control and they're everywhere and are everything. And none of that is true. None of it is true. It's just that after they murdered, hey, Elizabeth, after they murdered Owen, I became almost a recluse. I didn't want to have friends. Now I have people in town. Just the friend that I went out with yesterday. basically looked at me and said, fuck him. Fuck him. We're your friend, and we're going to do whatever we want. Fuck him. And so it's funny because I have people in town who are just like that. They just don't care, you know? Very strong individuals that have a moral background. Where do we find Arizona's interview? Someone just asked where they find Arizona's interview. Divine, you might want to just give out some information. I think I'm not the only one who's interested. They all call us crazy. Oh, I hate David Icke. I always call him Ick because I don't trust him. Just like Kevin Annette. Don't trust him at all. This group has so many fake ass people out there that act as honeypots. And the unfortunate thing is it becomes dangerous. That's what pisses me off the most about Sherilyn is that as my moderator, they turned me into a honeypot. I don't know even who, I will never know who emailed that email address. But anyone who did, I just painted a target on them. And it was because I was lazy. I should have taken responsibility. I should have demanded access to that immediately. And I didn't, you know, and I won't do it again. That's the reason why. I'm not having any more moderators. I'm not having anybody set up email addresses that people have access to. I'm not doing any of that anymore. Because they target people. Sherilyn can go fuck yourself. You know? Oh, thank you, Gov. Thank you. I don't know. That 3-eye atlas thing doesn't have a tail anymore. And it got faster. Now it's just a big blue bulb, you know? Ike is icky. No worries, Divine. What Ike and Annette and all of those people do is they take the truth and then they add so much bullshit to it that nobody believes anything. And then they throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's why I get so pissed off about that group. You know, 3-eye atlas looks like a third eye. It's doing some really scary things, you know? And see, that's why I'm willing to, because that's what ends up happening. You know, that's what ends up happening is that they just sit and listen. When I went on the John B. Wells show, I ended up talking about Jacob Wetterling for the full fucking 2 hours, and John B. Wells didn't say anything. In fact, someone who was on the panel, I was on the phone, so I didn't know who was on the panel, but asked him, are you going to ask this dude any questions? And John B. Wells was, no, I'm just going to let him talk. And I talked all about how my father was involved with the Jacob Wetterling case. And then less than 2 weeks later, an unsolvable 27-year-old cold case was suddenly solved with a perp, a confession, and a body. Less than 2 weeks later. Of course, the dude was already in prison. He never got charged with it. And this dude, Timothy Homseth, said that the body that they found wasn't even human, let alone Jacob Wetterling's. But I'm not even going to say anything about Timothy Homseth because I just find if I did anything with Timothy Homseth, it would become a liability. He's just like that. I don't trust him. It's a bunch of chaos. So whether or not it's true or not, I don't know. But I know all of the abduction pictures changed and the stories changed all around Jacob Wetterling after I did that interview. I know it's probably a coincidence, you know, just probably a coincidence. Just add it with all the other fucking myriad of coincidences, you know? I've never listened to those voicemails, but all the voicemails, you guys can all go listen to them. Whatever voicemail, the voicemail that Daniel Doud just left on my phone, even my therapist responded to it. told me the person sounded like he was a terrible person and was whacked out. And that came from my therapist. A friend of mine listened to it, and the first thing they wrote back was, "What the fuck?" I didn't listen to it. I never listened to any of their shit because it's always lies. It's always bullshit. And it's all mixed with insults and jabs, and they're trying to hurt my feelings constantly. And I don't get my feet. They don't have the power to hurt my feelings because I don't care about them. In fact, that's not even true. I dislike them intensely. So I could not give a fuck less what they think about anything, let alone me. But I don't want to listen to it either. And it's not like I don't know what they're saying. They've sent me texts. They stopped doing that because I just started blocking everything. Now I just block everything. It's the same group. It's the very same group. It's the same group, same people, same tactics, everything. Nothing's changed. Same group that did it to Issac Kappy. Same group that did it to Tracy Twyman. Same group that did it to, it's the same group. What makes me different is that I am exposing it. They don't get me to run. I'm not going to hide. They can go fuck themselves. I'm not going to go run and hide. And I apologize for... I know I seem grumpy today, but I got about 2 hours of sleep last night. Hey, Mika. This time is stressful anyway. And since Halloween, their directed energy weapon bullshit has been off the fucking charts. And it's centered in my house. It has to be around somewhere in my neighborhood. Because when I went out with my friend yesterday, we ended up going to the state park and driving around and just getting out, because the state park's only 10 minutes out of town. And so we were able to get out and go out and about, had a great time. And I wasn't getting hit at all. The minute I walked into my house, the shit was awful. And it's been awful ever since, But fuck them, Fuck them. And I'm glad I know people who want to be my friend. Even though I warn them all the time that this group can be lethal. But people are like, fuck it. Fuck them. So, I'm not a very good recluse. I can be. I like my own company. I can be alone when I was out in Seattle, I was alone for 4 years straight. Married to my other half the last 5 years, I was alone all the time. He traveled everywhere. And I rarely went with them. Pretty much because he was taking other boys. I didn't know that. But I was alone then too, I don't really have mood swings. I'm pretty consistent. The unfortunate thing is that the consistency is irritability. I'm a bitch. I can be a bitch. But people who know me from these videos, but then actually have interactions with me in real life, will tell you, I'm like night and day. I'm a completely different person. Who you see on these videos is not, it is me, but I seem way more stressed out and way more irritable on these videos when I'm talking about all this nasty shit than when I do when it's in real life. Because in real life, I'm a pretty laid back, easygoing, that's what I've been told anyway. I like people and I don't like conflict, and I'm not going to argue with people. It's when I get into my house. It's bad. Gov can confirm it. Because Gov and I talk. I love Gov. He's very smart. And Elizabeth knows as well. People know I'm different on here than I am. I'm different in real life. But when you put a camera on someone, it has a tendency to make you end up acting differently. Like when people take pictures of you, you always want to look your best and stuff like that. I guess I might have, my moods don't swing like drastic, but if I get irritated and overwhelmed, I can stay irritated and overwhelmed for a week, you know? And then I try to get myself out of it. Usually by cleaning, that's the best thing. Cleaning or helping someone, getting out of my own head. And then that helps. But I just, I present different when just, I have a tendency to make people laugh a lot. I think so. Yesterday, the friend that I was with, she laughed several times over shit that I said. I have a tendency to be kind of humorous. Funny. I like to lighten the mood. And, but on here, when I'm talking about them, because that's the whole thing. Like when I'm talking to Gov, I'm talking to my friend yesterday, we'll bring it up, but it'll be a minute subject. And then it goes off and diverses. Talk about everything under the sun. On here, it's really focused on them. So when I have to focus on them for an hour, it has a tendency to irritate the piss out of me. It does. But then when I get off here and I walk away, it goes away almost instantaneously. So it's just, but there are people who deal with me on a consistent basis. I won't say daily. Nobody really deals with me on a daily basis, but there's consistent several times a week. And will tell you I'm different in real life than I am on here. But I'm going to get off here because I can't afford my heat, so I set it to 62. But now my studio is up here. And I have one of those radiator because they're the safest heaters. But I have Lucy, my ball python, up here. So the upstairs is 80 degrees. And I'm in this big, heavy sweater. And I was cold downstairs, but sitting up here, I feel like I'm about ready to pass out. It is so hot. And but I don't want to take my sweater off because I have to go do something. And it's cold outside. Well, it's 50s, it's sweater weather. That's to be expected in November. But it is so not sweater weather upstairs. So when I'm in my studio, I have a feeling I'm going to be doing studio stuff in jeans and a t-shirt. And then when I want to leave, I'll put clothes on. But I have to have where I have Lucy, I have to have it hot. I have to have it warm. She can't deal with cold. Dogs can because they just get on the bed and go underneath the covers. They're very spoiled. It's getting cooler. We've had a couple freezes already. I have to go out and trim all my hostas now and get rid of all of the plants. They were in containers. They're all dead because we've had several frosts. Oh, excuse me. Okay, well, like and subscribe. I see Gov, and it just came because I always forget that. Like and subscribe. Comment if you can, too. Even if it's just a suggestion, even a criticism, if you have a suggestion and there's something you want to talk to me about or you want me to bring up, leave a comment. I always read the comments. I stay on the comments. But I will be, thank you, small change. I'm hoping. They just busted Andrew and took away all of his titles in the UK. But I was just talking to a friend of mine for the UK, and she was just like, yeah, but everybody still wants to know who that 12-year-old naked boy was that fell out the window. You can still find videos of that. Who the fuck was that 12-year-old naked boy crawling out the fucking window that fell? And why was he naked? And why was he crawling out the window? And this was at Buckingham Palace, Windsor. I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was connected to the royal family. This happened in the UK, and the video is still out there. I was just talking to someone, and they said the video is still out there. I guess go on YouTube and type in 12-year-old naked boy falling out the window. Because it's a tourist place. So people were filming the thing. And they caught this naked 12-year-old boy crawling out the window, and he fell. Nobody knows what happened to him. Well, I kind of figure I know what happened to him. You know? Oh, I didn't see that. Sorry, Sarah. This has been a really nice thing. This just got an intense conversation. You know, I'm not a fan of the Royals. I'm not a fan of any of the elite. I'm not a fan of any of the political leaders that we have. No, he looked like he was escaping out the window. He was trying to get out of the room he was in. And he was naked, and he fell off the window because he was on the second or third floor. It was just insane. Go Google it, because you can find information on it. It was just insane. And I guess people in the UK have not forgotten that. That's the reason why they got rid of Andrew, because now things are starting to come up out of the question. But then after Jimmy Savile died, they started to find out that all of this fucking child abuse was going on. Well, Shirley Oaks. You know, the UK they had their own version of McMartin, the Hampstead case. So they had the Hampstead case. The Hampstead case was the only thing that was real about the Hampstead case are those two kids and the abuse they were going through. But otherwise, from on both sides, the good people, Abraham and their mother, and then the dad and all the people, Sabine McNeil and all of them, all bad. And it was all meant to discredit the satanic, the ritual abuse and all of that. If they really wanted to focus on the ritual abuse and the connections with the ritual abuse, they'd focus on that group home, that Shirley Oaks group home. That has now 500 victims who have come together, but they don't want to focus on that because it's easier to discredit and get rid of one victim instead of a whole organization that has 500 victims to it. I Googled it, the one link that has been removed due to nudity because the kid was nude. It's all their hunting games. That ranch that Scalia was murdered at, they hunt children there. That's what it is. Bohemian Grove. That's what I remember about the Bohemian Grove. It's on Reddit. You can go see it on Reddit. Thank you, Elizabeth. As always. You know, they ended up in the dad's custody. And he was bad, but they were all bad. They were all bad. And it was just the UK's version, because what ended up happening is that Jimmy Savile died. Then they started to realize that all these assholes, Prince Andrew was not the only one, but then they didn't want to investigate it because they said, oh, they're all old people. All old people. You remind me, Gov, I'll talk about Bohemian Grove. I was there at least 3 times when I was a kid. The thing that I remember most is that awful smelling pond thing that was in front of Moloch, that owl that they were killing kids at. It's just so bizarre that that's what I remember the most. But it's because the smell was always so bad. It smelled like a swamp. It was awful. I've been at this my whole adult life. Because I started off as a kid. And what ended up happening was, my therapist will tell you, what started all of this was I had the strongest sense of survivor guilt my therapist had ever experienced before. Because I felt so much guilt. Well, obviously, you know. Oh, the smell was awful. It overpowered the smell of blood. And there's nothing like the smell of blood. Blood and the taste. And it doesn't stay red. It comes out of your body and it almost turns brown almost within seconds. So when you see movies and there's a big thing of red all around it, that's not what blood looks like. It starts to dry immediately and it gets all over you and it cakes and it's brown and it stinks and it tastes horrid and it has a metallic taste to it. You know, I don't want to do, I'm ending up bringing up memories I just don't want to talk about. Movie blood is just red corn syrup. It's not what blood looks like. But enough about blood. I'm going to pray again because now I freaked myself out just going back into those memories. That's the whole thing about it is that false memories are not the same as repressed memories. And victims, we all have to repress the abuse that we went through. Because if you don't repress it, it drives you insane. So when it comes down to it, it's not that you forget. That's the problem. We never really forget, but we spend all of our time trying to forget. And that's the issue. Just having this conversation right now has just, I apologize for anybody. I'm going to have to put a trigger warning now in the description that around 50 minutes, the conversation becomes a bit intense. You know? You have to repress to survive. Otherwise, to think about this all the time, and unfortunately, because it's trauma, when you go back there, it's like you're reliving it. It's like you're right there. You know, you don't forget anything. It imprints on you. That's why they did it. Because it imprints so strongly on a person, especially as a child. It's just, you know. I hope your show went well, Sarah. I really wanted to tell you I appreciated you thanking me. Even though the thanks actually went to you because you were the one who inspired that prayer. But I really appreciated you letting me know that prayer lifts the mood. With that said, I'm going to pray again. I know I've already prayed, but then I'm going to end this too. Heaven, we come to you. Sometimes looking at the past and remembering what some of us went through as victims is just overwhelming and intense and dark. Help us realize that the powerful part about that is that we survived it as children. When so many else did, it shows the strength that we all have within us and the resolve to serve you and your will, because most of us who actually got out of it, actually legitimately got out of it, only did so because of you. I have not found many, I haven't really actually found any survivors who got out of it without the help of Jesus Christ. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you. Amen. We say these things in your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. They're obviously not liking my life because the street cleaner's right outside my house, parked. He hasn't moved. I can hear it. He hasn't moved. You know? This is the shit I go through. But in town, they want to shut me down because the sheriff's department is involved with the meth operation. You know? So, like and subscribe. If you'd like to donate, anything is appreciated. Oh my God. Everything is helpful. It used to be just, a month ago I said, when you go to the store, everything is $5 here and $5 there. And now it's $7 and $8 here and $7 and $8 there. And I'm not I am kind of bitching, but I live on disability. I make less than $1,000 a month. Do you know how hard it is to live on less than $1,000 a month? With utility bills and insurance and just phone and all. It's just, but I'm not alone. I'm not alone. That I would say that helps, but it doesn't. It just means that other people are in the same boat, and the boat I'm in sucks. You know? The last week of last month, I ate popcorn. Popcorn fills you up. And a bag of popcorn is $3. So I ate a lot of popcorn. I eat a lot of popcorn. Well, guys, you're all on here. I almost don't want to get off here, but people don't listen to these when they go over an hour. I'm lucky now, but they've stopped doing the bot thing, I guess. I don't even understand why they did the bot thing to begin with. I don't understand the whole purpose, but then I just don't understand technological stuff. Gov can attest to that. I'm just kind of... I live alone. I just make sure that my animals eat. And I'll be honest, this month I had to spend $25 on treats. Dog treats are terrible, and I have 3 dogs, but I stopped giving them treats, and they thought I was mad at them. They've been acting like I've been mad at them because I haven't been able to give them treats, and so I had to go out and buy some dog treats. What we do for our animals, you know? They just couldn't get it shut down because of the bot activity, because I kept bitching about the bots. Because it pisses me off. I like to know who's in. I just like to know, you know? And I prefer now that my numbers have gone back down. 200-300 people, that's common for me, you know? This 10,000 people was stupid. I was totally unhappy about it. But what can you do? I went and researched it, and they said there was nothing you could do. I can't even complain to YouTube about it. And on the analytics of those bots, most of them were from porn sites. And I'm not technological. I don't know how it works. I don't know how a lot of shit works. I don't understand crypto. Cryptocurrency is like fantasy cash to me. It's like monopoly money. It's not real. But and bots definitely, they don't want people to listen to me. They don't want anybody to see. They don't want anybody to listen to what I have to say. That's true. They don't want anyone to hear. And I don't care. Kids are getting hurt. You know, they're still getting hurt. And because of what I went through and because of what I know, I have an obligation to do this. Now they're coming back. Are they on walkie-talkie or something? It just amuses me that they've spent so much time on me. It's just, it amuses me that they spent so much time and effort and focus on me. Because people will tell you, Gov will tell you, we never talk about them. When we talk on the phone, fuck, we can talk for hours, and it's never about them. I don't focus on them. I don't care. I don't listen to their shit. I don't watch their shit. I don't do anything. But they spend an awful lot of time on me. All right, I gotta get off here. It's 1:04. Thanks, guys. This has been a pleasure. I will be back on the weekend. And there are a few of you that are on here that I'm going to reach out to. You probably figure you know who you are. But I could read my book. To be quite honest, I have not read my book since 2012. After I got done editing it to be published, I haven't read it since then. And I've never once listened to the entire audio all the way through. I only listened to a little bit of it because I just wanted to see what it was like. But I haven't read my book in years upon years upon years because by the time it got ready to be published, I was so sick of Rabbit Hole because it was just rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. It was a lot of work. I'm getting ready to do another book because it was fun. But once I was done with it, you know how you're just done? You know, it's like a quilt. I do a quilt and then I'm done with it. It has audio. There's a Kindle version of it. I could do a book club behind a paywall. The issue is that I don't know anything about paywalls. Someone told me I needed to get a Cash App or a Patreon. I don't know what any of those are. You know? Cog is the one who suggested the buy me a coffee thing, and that's only because she saw it on someone else's thing. That's how I figured that out. Other than PayPal and Venmo, besides, especially with a lot of this stuff, in the end, anything helps. But then, Sarah, you don't know how much you reaching out and saying thank you. It's not me narrating it on Kindle. It was a dude that is now famous. I ended up having to pay $4,000 for him to narrate that book, my book. But now he gets paid way more than that because he became famous. He did something with my book that he had never done before, and now he does it all the time. And so that's kind of a proud thing for me, you know. And my publisher's the one who found him. And I self-published. I paid for it, but I still have. They published my book, you know, so or helped me publish. It's supposed to be to it. Listening to my book or listening to James Earl Jones read the New Testament, which one I'm gonna pick. You know, I really don't find myself to be all that interested. You know, I'm pretty boring. I can be funny because I'm a bitch, but for the most part, I'm a pretty boring person. I think, anyway. All right. I got to get off here so it doesn't keep running over. This has been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much. I met James Earl Jones and his son. They are kind. I would have loved to meet. Coming to America is one of my favorite movies. I love James Earl Jones. I do. Didn't much care for him in Darth Vader, but I'm not a big Darth Vader fan. That was my ex's favorite character. That says a lot about him. Says a lot. One time my ex and I got into a fight because we were watching that movie about Avatar. And Michael, my ex, was for the people who wanted to tear down the tree and build the malls and all of that. And he thought that those blue people needed to be exterminated, and we got into a fight over it. We also got into a fight over Pulp Fiction. After they abducted that black guy, and then they blew his head, and you saw the blood splatter in the back. I take all of that because of what I went through. It's hard for me to separate that from a movie because it triggers stuff that you know, and I don't find any of that shit funny. I don't find violence funny. In any way, shape, or form, I do not find violence funny. I don't find it humorous. I just don't like violence. You know? Can't separate it. It's just, you can't separate it. And what ends up happening is then it triggers stuff inside of me, and then I dream about it constantly. That's the worst part about it, is that it triggers your psychology, and then all of a sudden you start to dream about it. It hits your subconscious. And you never know when it's going to happen. Sometimes you think that innocuous things are not going to bother you, and they trigger you so bad that it takes a while to actually get back to being grounded. It sucks being a victim of this, you know? Dark humor is something, because dark humor is, I like dark humor, and I usually like people who have dark humor, because it's not meant to be malicious. Dark humor is never meant to be malicious. It's just meant to be cutting and funny. I don't mind humor. But then again, I didn't find Fargo funny at all. And they billed it as a comedy. And I had a nervous breakdown with Fargo. That scene where they let that woman, after they abducted her and drove her in a bathrobe with her head covered, Fargo was way too real. I was with a group of people and a friend of mine kept wanting me to get out of there. We can do a movie stream next time. That'll be fun. We could talk about movies. I hated Fargo, but they let that woman out and she was panicking and running into bushes and the whole audience started to laugh. And that was the beginning of my meltdown. And then the more I watched putting the dead bodies in the wood chipper, that's why I don't like the whole wood chipper thing. It's fine to just talk about, but in actual reality, it's not funny. And it's disturbing imagery. And unfortunately, for victims of this, we are all highly intelligent. That's the one thing that we all have in common. We were all incredibly bright. Are incredibly bright. That's why we survived, because we were so bright. But that's why they targeted us. But that can be a double-edged sword sometimes. You know? All right. I got to get off here so that people will watch this. This has been great. Thank you so much, guys. This has been so much fun. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I am minding the time, Gov. Thank you. I'm getting off here right now. So, all right. I'll talk to you soon. This weekend. It's Thursday, so I'll be back in probably Saturday. You know, I like to come in on Saturday and then maybe I'll come in on Sunday, but I kind of like Saturdays. I know people are kind of busy on Saturdays, but Saturdays are just easier for me because on Sundays I like to kick back. I will show you what I've gotten done on this thing, this stained glass, this reverse applique piece. So I'll just keep you guys abreast of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, how it's looking. So, okay.